somewhere in the heart of the desert, a boy chased a dream he barely understood. He lost everything. He found everything. This is not just a story. It's the blueprint for how you find your own destiny. This is the journey of Santiago. The sun dipped low over the rolling hills of Andalusia, painting the fields in hues of gold and crimson. Santiago sat with his back against a worn stone wall, his flock of sheep clustered lazily around him. The earth smelled of dry grass and sheep's wool, and the soft chime of their bells blended with the whisper of the wind. In his hand he turned a weathered book he had already read a dozen times, savouring the stillness before sleep. That night, under the wide cathedral of stars, a dream unfurled itself inside his mind. A dream so vivid it left a taste of dust and ancient stone on his tongue. A child appeared, cloaked in the white glow of the moon, and beckoned him to the Egyptian pyramids, whispering of a treasure buried beneath the sands. Morning brought the dream's aftertaste of longing. Santiago, brushing dirt from his simple cloak, knew he could have dismissed it. Yet something restless stirred inside him, something that smelled of more than sheep and fields. He could not ignore it. In the bustling square of Tarifa, among merchants hawking spices and sweets, Santiago's path collided with an old man in a brilliant golden breastplate beneath his tattered robe. His eyes, impossibly ancient and endlessly young, bore into Santiago's very soul. "I am Melchizedek," the king said, his voice like the grinding of ancient stones. Coins glinted in his palm. A black stone and a white one, Urim and Thummim, shimmered with mysterious light. He spoke of personal legends, of dreams forgotten by men too weary to remember them. "The world's greatest lie," the king said, "is that at a certain point we lose control of our lives, and our lives become controlled by fate." The king's words seared themselves into Santiago's chest. A map to a hidden treasure? No, something more vital. A summons to remember that he was born to live a purpose larger than tending sheep. In a whirlwind of resolve, Santiago sold his flock. The coins felt heavy in his pocket. Heavier still was the burden of hope as he stepped aboard a rickety ship bound across the sea to Africa. Tangier greeted Santiago not with promise but with loss. The marketplace pulsed with life, scents of grilled meat and sharp spices teasing his senses. In the dizzying blur of voices and colour, a sly-eyed boy approached, promising help, friendship, guidance. Moments later, Santiago stood alone, his money stolen, the foreign tongue of Arabic crashing over him like a cold wave. The vast city loomed around him, an indifferent labyrinth of strangers. For the first time, ambition tasted like despair. Santiago wanted to turn back, to become once again the boy with nothing to lose but the comfort of his sheep. But the king's voice echoed inside him. "When you want something, all the universe conspires in helping you to achieve it." Wiping the dust from his clothes, Santiago decided he would not go home. A dusty crystal shop, nestled like a forgotten gem on a crooked alley, became Santiago's refuge. The merchant, a man whose dreams had withered into habits, looked at the boy with weary amusement and hired him. Days bled into weeks. Santiago scrubbed glass until his fingers were raw, rearranged displays under the unrelenting North African sun, and learned the secret fears of men who had abandoned ambition for safety. Santiago's dreams, though bruised, did not die. He proposed selling tea in crystal glasses to traveller, an audacious idea that made the merchant tremble with terror. But it worked. Wealth bloomed in the dusty shop. Hope stirred again in Santiago's heart. Yet gold in his pocket was not his true goal. Standing at the crossroads of comfort and purpose, Santiago chose once more to walk the harder road. He gathered his earnings, bought a camel, and set his face toward the desert. Toward the pyramids. Toward his legend. The caravan rolled into the Sahara like a great steel beast groaning under the weight of goods and secrets. Santiago rode silently, the camel's gait lulling him into a trance of shifting dunes and endless sky. Beside him sat an Englishman hunched over thick books, muttering about alchemy and the philosopher's stone. The man's obsession with turning lead into gold seemed absurd, yet familiar. Both sought treasure. Both hunted meaning. Santiago realized that ambition took many forms. For some, it was gold. For others, it was knowledge. For him, it was still undefined, a yearning beating inside him like a second heart. Under the velvet sky punctured by stars, Santiago listened to the whispers of the desert wind and began to learn the language of the world. The desert stretched like a golden ocean, its waves frozen in time, each dune a silent sentinel guarding ancient secrets. Sandstorms swallowed the horizon, and whispers of tribal wars rode the hot winds. The caravan, battered and weary, halted at an oasis, a miracle of green palms and sparkling water cradled within the infinite sands. The air here was thick with the scent of dates and the murmur of hidden springs. It was there Santiago saw her. Fatima stood by the well, her black hair veiled but her eyes unhidden, dark and deep as midnight pools, reflecting all the mysteries of the desert. In a single heartbeat, Santiago's purpose blurred. No treasure of gold, no distant pyramid, no map or prophecy. Nothing compared to the pull he felt toward her. In her presence, time lost meaning. Fatima spoke not just to Santiago's ears, but to his soul, telling him in words and in silence that true love was part of the world's language. Yet as fiercely as Santiago loved, he knew his journey could not end here. "Go," she told him, her voice steady, though tears gathered in her eyes. "Go and find your treasure. If I am truly part of your destiny, you will return." Leaving her was like tearing a piece of himself loose, but Santiago understood now. Ambition demanded sacrifice. Love, true love, would wait. Destiny could not be abandoned, even for the heart's sweetest dream. One night, under a sky cracked open with stars, Santiago felt a presence moving among the dunes. Silent, sure, inevitable. The alchemist appeared not as a grand wizard, but as a man cloaked in simple robes, his hawk perched calmly on his shoulder, his face carved from stone and sun. "You have come so far," the alchemist said, his voice as low and deep as the desert itself. "But you must go further." The boy listened, rapt, as the alchemist spoke of the soul of the world, the invisible current that binds all things, the language beyond words, the force that makes men dream and stones whisper. He taught Santiago that to find his treasure, he must learn to become the wind, to surrender himself so fully to the universe that he could command the elements. It was not magic. It was faith sharpened into knowledge, ambition melted into destiny. The alchemist led Santiago across the most dangerous stretch of desert where every horizon promised death. Armies clashed over scraps of sand, and fear seeped into every camp. In the face of death, Santiago learned his final lesson. Fear is the only thing that keeps a man from achieving his personal legend. The desert stretched around him, endless, unforgiving, infinite. Before Santiago stood the tribal chieftains, men hardened by sand and war, and beside him the alchemist waited silent, his eyes gleaming with the kind of ancient knowledge that does not flinch in the face of death. The threat was simple. Become the wind, or die. Santiago's heart hammered against his ribs. How could a boy become the wind? He was flesh and blood, dust and bone, not the howling breath that crossed dunes and sculpted mountains. Panic rose inside him like a storm. He turned to the desert. "Teach me," he begged, not with words but with the yearning of his soul. And the desert, ancient and wise, answered, not with language, but with memory, the way it once had been an ocean, the way it surrendered itself to time and sun, the way it remained, enduring, adapting, patient. The desert told him, to become the wind, you must first become me. So Santiago emptied himself. He let go of fear, let go of doubt, let go of everything he thought made him himself. He felt the dry, shifting sands inside him. He felt the bones of the earth beneath his skin. He felt the pulse of the dunes rolling endlessly, reshaping themselves with every breath of the world. He spoke to the wind next. The sirocco, fierce and wild. He asked for its help, and the wind laughed. "I am free," said the wind. "No one commands me." But Santiago did not command. He became curiosity. The way the wind probes and dances, he became longing. The way the wind sings against the cliffs. He became movement itself, borderless, restless, eternal. And the wind, recognizing its own spirit inside this boy, rose to meet him. The desert rumbled, grains of sand lifted into the air, swirling around Santiago in a furious dance. The tribal men shielded their eyes. The camels moaned and pulled against their tethers. The sky grew dim with dust. At the center of the storm, Santiago was no longer a boy. He was air and fire and ancient earth. He was the wind. And in that instant, Santiago understood. All things are one. The hawks above, the sands below, the blood in his veins, the heart of Fatima across the dunes, all of it was the same story told in different languages. He was not asking for miracles. He was becoming the miracle. The dust storm faded. Silence fell heavy over the oasis. When Santiago opened his eyes, the alchemist smiled. The chieftains, men who had seen battles and omens and death, bowed their heads, for they had witnessed something greater than swords or gold. They had seen a human being become the soul of the world itself. At last the pyramids rose before him, jagged teeth of stone biting into the twilight sky. Santiago fell to his knees, tears streaming down his dust-caked cheeks. Every step, every sacrifice, every wound had led to this moment. Digging feverishly at the earth, his hands bleeding, he unearthed nothing. Laughter echoed from the shadows. A band of thieves surrounded him, kicking him to the ground. One of them, amused by Santiago's story, mocked him. "You came all this way because of a dream," the leader said, spitting into the sand. "Fool! I had a dream once, too, of a treasure buried in a ruined church in Spain where a shepherd used to sleep under a sycamore tree." The world tilted. The treasure was never here. It had been where Santiago had started all along. As the thieves vanished into the night, Santiago lay in the sand, not broken, but smiling. He understood now. The real treasure was the journey, the transformation, the love, the knowledge, and yes, the gold waiting for him back home was real too, but it was the least valuable part. Beneath the familiar branches of the sycamore, Santiago unearthed a chest heavy with coins, jewels, and ancient artifacts. The earth, the sheep, the stars, and his own heart had led him full circle. Fatima's face floated before his mind's eye, her patient smile, her desert-born strength. He knew the winds would carry him back to her, carrying not just treasure, but the full weight of who he had become. Santiago laughed, a sound full of life and sunlight as the desert wind embraced him. He had followed his purpose. He had dared to dream. And in doing so, he had found everything.